So, hello everyone, welcome to another session, the fourth session of discussing film appreciation with Raghavendra sir. And today we're going to be discussing about the anatomies of political cinema.
See now, first before I start this, let me just say that whatever we do here, whatever I'm teaching you here, is not exact knowledge. Okay, it's basically started debate, some kind of conceptual category, some kind of conceptual understanding. It doesn't mean other kinds of conceptual understandings are not possible. Okay, the question is arguments have to be offered. It's not simply a matter of opinion. What you think, right? So, for example, if you take something like the subject of political cinema, right? It's a huge subject, and people would have any kind of all kinds of opinions on what political cinema is. Okay, so now what I'm trying to do is arrive at some kind of understanding which is not valid not binding on people in the sense that you could have your own idea of what is political cinema. But the point is that you have to think about it. It took me quite some time to think about it. What exactly political cinema is, come to some kind of understanding. But the basic thing is, political cinema is not a genre. Okay, it's not formulaic. Okay, it's not formulaic. Can you hear me? It's okay,
Yeah, yes,
right?
sir, yes.
Okay, it's not formulaic. It encompasses the whole range of possibilities, the whole range of different kinds of films. As a result of which, whereas genre films are immediately recognizable, you have to dig out politics from a political film. What exactly is the politics of this film? What exactly is it? What do you mean by saying it's political? In what sense is it political? That kind of thing. Okay. So now, normally, what do you say? The political film. Political film is normally a term used to identify any kind of dissenting view of society, either one's own or another. Obviously, this view needs refining. I mean, for example, would dissent be a characteristic of Russian cinema early to 20 silent cinema, Patricia Potemkin, Mother, okay, or Ziga Vershov? No, it would not be. Okay, so the question is, we have to come to some general understanding of what politics is itself in the first place before we go on. Okay, now, if all of you would have heard this term, everything is political, right?
Yeah,
Everything, that's a thing which people, political minded people, are very fond of saying that everything. What does that exactly mean? It means the choices you exercise in life, basically, are all determined by your position in society, which is largely a political one in senses, in your conflict with other kinds of categories. If you belong to some caste or some class or something, what is the choices you make will be dependent on your birth, what where you've been born into, what political categories you belong into. Okay, this is what it means. But this term actually would not help you very much in understanding what political cinema is. Political cinema means it has to be a certain category of cinema. If everything is political, all cinema cannot be political, though in some sense it might be. If all cinema is political, it would have very little manner. The term political cinema would not have the kind of value that you would attach to it, right? You have to understand what political in cinema means in relation to films which are not political. So this is the way I see it. Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay. Now, my reckoning, political means exercising power over another person, power and control over another individual, over another, a class over another, a race over another, people of one religion over another. It's basically my means of exercising control. But all forms of control are not political. For example, you could say, for example, what about the control a parent exercises towards a child, towards his child or her child, right? Would that be political? No. The reason is, I think what we are talking about here is control without responsibility, right? So the question is, if you have control over somebody's conduct without responsibility for that person, then that control you exercise is political control. If anybody has any doubts about this, it just struck me as a possible way of looking at it. For example, yeah, please, can you hear me?
So, here's the thing like, you're saying that what the control that is practiced on someone without the responsibility of that someone
Towards that someone, yeah,
towards that someone, yeah.
right, yeah. See,
But
for example, if
yeah,
yeah,
yes, yes, you're saying.
see, for example, if in a hierarchy, a boss has control over a subordinate to the extent, to a certain extent, that thing is legitimate. Okay,
Yeah,
It's legitimate. That control within the hierarchy of responsible for the work. After all, the boss does take responsibility for the, shall we say, the mistakes that the subordinate makes, right? But when
Yeah,
that control extends to other things which are not connected with work, not connected with delivery of whatever of results and all that, then that control becomes political, right? In the same way, for example, in a household, if the child threatens, for example, wants something, some toy or some such thing, and he threatens the parent with wanting to hurt himself if he doesn't get it. The child is exercising political control over the parent, right? You get me? Okay, this is my sense. That is, the child has no responsibility towards the parents. Okay, but he's exerting political control in some way. So the question is that when you get into friendships and you get into interpersonal relationships with various sorts, you find that even among friends there is a thing of controlling each other's opinions, to that kind of thing, right? Controlling
true.
opinions, controlling conduct, controlling things over which you have no responsibility. You're not responsible for that conduct of the other person, but you want to exercise control. That I would say is being political in a very broad sense. So I would say that any film which wants to depict politics in some way would have to, okay, um, have this issue of control, have to issue of exercising power over somebody else. Hegemony is one kind of thing. Hegemony, for instance, is setting the rules of the game in a certain location. Say, for example, in South Asia, if India sets the rules of the game in South Asia for all the countries around it, if it so happens, then India will be exercising hegemony. China will exercise hegemony similarly in Southeast Asia when it sets the rules of the game. That in some way, though they are all in sovereign, independent nations, so this hegemony is that kind of thing, right? It's a thing of setting the rules by which the games, the relationships are played out. Okay, that would be hegemony. That's only so that's one form of power. That's one form of politics. So basically, you could say that all life is somehow or other includes this element of interpersonal power, of power between groups, between organizations, between things. And it's not only a matter of the state and dissent. So the question is, how does one depict this kind of this thing of what we call political cinema? Could be anywhere. You could, for example, gender issues could be a political thing. It would have probably deal only with the family, right? It
Yeah.
could be a political film dealing only within a family. So it's still political in some sense because gender is a political issue. Okay, go to the next slide. Let us look at the models of political cinema, various models. One of the most popular forms of political cinema takes the shape of the biopic, what you call, the experiences of a single individual when dealing with something else. Okay. Like, for example, you can talk about Battle of Algiers, the biopic kind of biopic. I don't mean a real person. I mean a character whose trajectory we see from position A to position B. Can you think of something like this? A political film as biopic? Can you think of it?
Like say in India there was Black Friday.
Was there one individual? No, no, I
Oh no,
think.
not one. Even, no, but
Uh,
the Battle of Algiers was also not one individual,
yeah,
right?
but
Battle of
but you follows this one guy. Will be other guys, but it's by and large one or two people, that sort of thing, right? It's this one fellow, Ali, I think his name is,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, in Black Friday also it was Tiger Memon and there was Bacha Khan.
Okay.
These
One of
people,
no no
yeah,
no, but, no Tiger. The discovery was usually Tiger Memon is the person. I don't know. Anyway, whatever it is, it's possible that this is basically the most popular form is this biopic. Then you can talk about Mrinal Sen's interview would be a
yes,
biopic kind of thing. Okay, we would deal with an individual. Then you
We
deal.
have Roman Polanski's the pianist also, I think.
I'm not so sure that's a political film in the same sense. We'll
no,
talk about it later.
Mm,
Okay, I'm not
yeah.
so sure it's a political film,
but
but it's
it did talk
uh,
about Holocaust and how
yeah,
this
yeah, but
individual survives
let's
Holocaust.
understand this. Are they exploring power relations? No,
They
war.
are, but they are, aren't they? Like this
No,
like the
they're
cat.
portraying a person. It's one thing. Okay, we'll go along as we go along. We'll discuss this. It will come up. Okay. Another exploration is like political doings of colonialism or capitalism, dictatorships. That would be, say, I don't know if you've seen Burn Quemada by
Yeah, came out of
Pontecorvo. Quemada, I think you may have seen. It's the same person who made Gilo Pontecorvo, the same person who made Battle of Algiers. It's not as well known, but it's spectacular in a certain way with Marlon Brando in a spectacular way. and in some ways it's extremely interesting. I don't think this thing of colonialism has been shown in this way in any. I wonder why
Yeah,
the film is not
exactly.
so well known. Yeah, it was released also publicly in India, but it didn't do
Oh,
all that well.
it was
Released
released in India.
Yeah, I've seen it in the theater on the day before the exam, actually. My college
Wow.
days. Okay. Kemada is one. Okay. Then Z would be another, showing dictatorship or political enrollment of the lumpen elements by right wing military and all that happens, that sort of thing. And then you have Wall Street, which shows the way the corporate things breaks up businesses
Yeah.
and that sort of. So these would all be not so much biopics as much as talking about the doings of these political systems in some way. Okay.
Salvatore Giuliano is a biopic.
Salvatore Giuliano, not so much. It's more like an investigation. Okay. See, the thing about a biopic is the camera usually is privileged with full knowledge of that person.
Oh yeah, of course. And
Yeah.
Salvatore
Okay.
Giuliano, we only see him as a
No.
dead body.
Yeah, no, you only see him. We don't. So it's not a biopic in that sense. You're trying to a film where the camera knows everything about the person would normally be the format for the biopic biopic model. Okay. Then we come to the third format is the recreation of actual history. The investigation, like Battleship Potemkin, Eisenstein's Battleship Potemkin, Salvatore Giuliano by Francesco Rossi would be another one. Okay. Now, the Salvatore Giuliano is a very interesting thing because he's trying to investigate the things of power because it's already a past event, an actual event which supposedly took place. They investigate this to find out what really happened, whether, and the basic thing is that history is not completely knowable, that finally everything is doubt, you can only put it together. Okay. So that is Salvatore Giuliano. The fourth one, which normally is not taken, would you call Leni Riefenstahl's Triumph of the Will political film? It's not actually.
It's a propaganda film.
Triumph of the Will is a propaganda film, agreed, but is it a political film? In fact, there's almost no politics in that film. If you remember,
No.
if you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
There's almost no politics in that film, and it is just.
Here's the thing. Like even say if it's not political, also it is talking about a certain man, and even if it's like a godlike creation of that man in that film, it still talks about a certain politics and like as you said,
it doesn't talk about the politics. It's talking about a party.
It does not. Like there's this one person who's like the control factor of it.
Wait a minute. That discourse is not there in the film. There is no. It is about the Nazi party, but what I've talked about, the exercise of power, is not the subject of that film. You get me?
Yeah.
Okay. He's basically using this the spectacle of a Nazi parade in Nuremberg, the Nuremberg rally, one of the rallies, to sort of awe people, to overawe people with the sense of this, this great power that this cause exudes. This people, the kind of commitment to causes that the people are prepared to give, and uses that as a tool of persuasion. See, it is propaganda. There's a lot of other left-wing propaganda also. For example, Battleship Potemkin is also propaganda.
Yeah, of course. That's what I was going to say. It's a propaganda.
Anand Patwardhan is propaganda. Mrinal Sen is propaganda. All of them
but
are propaganda.
But Anand Patwardhan, as you say, like he still has a sense of discourse in his.
That is there. But I'm saying Anand Patwardhan and Mrinal Sen, all these are different in the sense there is discourse there. There is a demonstration of how power works there. In Triumph of the Will, you won't find that.
Here's the thing.
It's not about power.
We had a session with Sudhir Mishra sir about this, and he said a very interesting thing is that when you find absolution in a film, in a political film, it's no longer a political film; it's a propaganda film. For example, he said, like citing his own film's example, Hazaro Khwaishein Aisi, that if in the end he had shown that like they're holding hands and the revolution has come, it would be a propaganda film. But if it's
not as simple as that. Let me put it this way: all of them are propaganda in some sense. Okay, it depends on where you draw the line. I mean, where you draw the line. Okay, it's not a question of it's a happy ending, it's a propaganda film. If it's unhappy ending, it's not a propaganda film, right? It's not as simple as that.
I phrased it like that. What I meant to say was that in a film like this, suppose a filmmaker is putting across a thought. So, for example, if you were to make
let's say Garam Hawa, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now Garam Hawa has this ending where all these youth get together. Okay. And then they hold something and they get into a procession and they go in there. Okay. This is set in 1948 or 47, somewhere like 40,
48,
47,
48.
48. Where was there such a movement in 1947, 48? Some youth movement of protest. So the question is, he's using it for a certain purpose, but it's still not strong enough for you to call it propaganda. See, everybody wants to make a point, right? Everybody wants
Exactly.
to make a point. Yeah,
Where is that line? Where is that line? Like, for example, a
I
filmmaker is
wouldn't
making a
like
point.
there is something like Kanan Patwardhan and something like Triumph of the Will is blatantly propaganda. I mean, there is no doubt that that is they're blatantly propaganda. They've got a viewpoint which they're trying to thrust down you. Something like you have to make. I mean, it's not a line. Look, it's a hazy thing, right? That boundary between it's hazy. You can say generally that the purpose of Garam Hawa is not propagandist in that. It's a human document. It's got a certain element there, which is a happy ending where there's protest, when actually in history there was no such protest at that particular time. It's not propagandist.
But
Propagandist would mean a blatant. I mean,
but as you said, like Triumph of the Will, it doesn't have that like the struggle of power or even the question of power.
it is not political. That's what I'm trying to bring this
Yeah,
thing.
it doesn't.
It,
But in say an Anand Patwardhan film, any of Anand Patwardhan's film, he's trying to dissect that
yeah,
thing
correct.
that he's
Look,
making
I'm
a
not
point
equating.
against.
Wait a minute, Baba. I'm not equating this, right?
Okay,
I'm
oh,
not saying they're equal. Okay,
yeah, no,
they're both propaganda of different sorts, right? My point I'm trying to make is Triumph of the Will is political, not because it is showing power, but because it is creating that outside the realm of the film. You get me? You get me, right? So the question is, it is using that, it's using the medium, it is using this entire thing of the parade in a political way to exercise power over a public, right? Okay, so that is in a political in different sense. I brought this other category. Then is propaganda. A propagandist film can be political in a different sense because it is not directly showing power, but it is exercising power in some public realm, right? By persuasion, by this, by winning adherents and that sort of thing. It's exercising power. That is the point I'm trying to make. Okay, I'm not saying, I'm just putting them together. There is left-wing propaganda, there's right-wing. For example, Battleship Potemkin gives you the impression that the thing succeeded,
Yeah.
right? That the ship did that, and after that, that was the 1905 revolution, right? Which failed in some sense. That they got some, but the point is, it's not a. It's still propaganda, but that's not its only purpose. It's also cinema of some sort. There is other things in Battleship Potemkin. But the point I'm making here is that these are political in a sense that they are exercising political power by showing certain things, although they are not directly showing the exercise of power. You get me? That's a basic difference. Okay. Now, another kind of political film would be that deal with a military adversary. You could deal with a military adversary, not only or not your own country. Can you give me examples of this? A film which deals with another country's politics. This had a lot of Cold War films used to do this. Political, a lot of Cold War. Dr. Zivago would
Dr.
be some
Zivago,
kind, yeah, would be political in that sense. It would be dealing with another country, not one's own country, but another one. There are a number of films in the Cold War which came out about Russia, about the Soviet Union, okay, made in this country.
1917 is that movie? 1917 is that movie?
Which one?
1917, the one that Sam Mendes just made this year. Last year, sorry.
Oh, that one. You're talking about the war movie.
Yeah, the war movie.
The
Yeah, our war movies.
movie,
Yes,
that's-
yes.
Yeah, that's not political. That's not. That's not a political film. Okay. You know, think of a war film which is also political in the sense of showing the exercise of power. Not simply a
Ammansi.
war. Not simply war.
Parts of
an
Glory.
exercise-
Stanley Kubrick's Parts of Glory.
Yeah, I think Paths of Glory. Paths of Glory would be political. Yeah, you're right. I think Paths of
Sir,
Glory.
what about L.M. Klimov's Come and See?
No, not political. It's more a human document. You don't find that the exercise of power as a thing there. It's more. It's a patriotic film, and it's yeah. You know, it wouldn't be political. Paths of Glory is good. I think I can't think of Russian films. They're usually not political. War movies are not usually political. Russian war movies.
And they're more
Probably,
they have
yeah.
more of a humanitarian.
But yeah, you see, one of the things about political film is there's one of Alexei German. You can see that. It's called Trial of the Road. That would be interesting. Just write this down. Trial of the
Yeah.
Road or Road Test. Alexei German, German, I think his first important film. That's a war film, also sorry, great war film. That you can try this out. It should be available. I think it's available. You can check it out.
Trial of the
That
Road.
could be. I think there are political elements in that film. Okay. So what we're talking about now is a film like Bicycle Thief. Okay,
Yeah.
where they show victimization. They show that the thing of exercise of power is not is not a, what do you say, a thematic constituent of that film, right? So we should try to exclude these what you call human documents. Pather Panchali is not a political film, right?
But
There are rich people, yeah. So you don't, for example, in Pather Panchali, you won't see the relationship between the rich and the poor and this family and the
but you do,
neighbors
but you
as a
do
political
see.
relationship.
Schindler's List.
Sorry, Schindler's List
Uh,
also no, I wouldn't call it political.
But it is about the exercise of power. Oh yeah, of course, it's an American.
Let me
base-
get it. Look, I'll tell you. See, the question is, it is not showing certain people being under certain people and being terrorized or being oppressed. It's not simply that. It's a matter of actually showing the exercise of power as the mechanism of exercise, how it works.
That would make it political, like the
That
exercise
would
of
make
power.
it. Schindler's List is not there. Schindler's List is not. That thing is not there. And where is it in there in Schindler's List?
The exercise of power.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's constantly there. Don't you see? Like in the concentration camps, it's like when the guy shoots this girl right there, and
No,
because
wait
he has
a minute. Let's get this. Now, if a gunda bashes up a fellow in the road and makes him do whatever he wants, it doesn't become a political film.
No, it doesn't. But here we see a
Doesn't. No,
Nazi
here
officer
also.
killing.
No. Whatever it is, that gunda may wear what is it called? Some political things of some sort. The other maybe belong to the political.
That's what I'm
thing of
saying.
some other
That's
god.
what I'm saying. Even if a gunda, if he was very like, let's
It
for
wouldn't.
example,
Just a minute. You listen
Yeah.
to me now. Okay.
Yeah.
The point is that the mechanism of exertion of power is necessary. How does this work? How does this power work? It's not simply a matter of one person exercising power over another. All action films, Batman exercises power over somebody else. If Batman came in some democratic costume or Republican costume, it wouldn't make the film political. You get me? That mechanism of exercise, how
But
is that
that-
power happen? It has to be go into the thing, right?
But-
Exercise
but
of
when-
power.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But when Batman comes dressed as a Democrat or a Republican, that image of a Republican exercising power, that becomes a political statement there, right there itself, that he has that power
Look,
because
you know, this whole thing becomes trivial. You know, I'm telling you, this kind of thing you start applying to, then everything is political, right? Anybody where anybody bashes and he's wearing something, if you can identify his religion, you can identify his caste, it becomes political, right? If you show one man bashing up another, you look at his face, this fellow looks like upper caste, that fellow looks like lower caste, therefore it's political.
no,
You
that
come to
then
that.
that,
No, I mean, you come to that, okay. This becomes, I mean, it becomes trivial. The important thing of having a session when you discuss these things is not to reduce this to triviality, right? You got to understand, like, the point is, if everything is, if you take Schindler's List, where all you're showing is a guy in German costume killing somebody in dressed in the thing or in the attire of a concentration camp inmate. Okay, if you say that because it's Germans exercising power, what exactly are you doing? I mean, it's not political. If you show some kind of thing of an occupation army doing something, trying to exert control, it has to be covered in some sense. It has to show control in some. The mechanism of control has to be not simply a matter of prison guard, warden. Okay, exercising control over prison inmates is not political. Okay, here the Nazi, just because he's wearing a Nazi uniform, okay, it doesn't make it. Yeah,
but
it's
in
almost like
Schindler's List-
prison guard.
in Schindler's List, we see the entire exodus. Like we see them, we see the crackdown on the Jewish localities as they bring them out, and so that's the exercise that you're talking about. It's quite there.
No. Just a minute.
Yeah.
It's like the arrest of a criminal by the policeman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not political. That's not something you would put in a political film and call it political. You have to narrow down your thing for it to make any sense at all. You get me? You've got to narrow down your definitions in such a way as for it to make sense, so you'll be able to distinguish this from that. You started enlarging your definitions. If all people are human beings and nothing else, there'd be no politics at all, right?
True.
Everybody is human. So the question is that when you come to definitions, you have to narrow down definitions in some way, okay? So that you're finally coming to some understanding. The narrower your definition, the more of an understanding you've reached. Now, if you talk about people being rounded up, that itself is not a political act. The question is, when it would be political, is what are the reasons for that being rounded up? How is that thing come? How is this distinguished from that person? Not simply by the fact that he's got Jewish blood or something like that. You have to narrow it down in some sense. So the whole point of defining is to narrow down, not to broaden it, right? The question is, it's like this, okay? A new animal comes along somewhere. Nobody's seen this animal. If you call it animal, what use is it to you? You have to call it vertebrate. You've got to call it bacteria. You got it. You got to call it invertebrate. You got to call it mammal. You got to call it fish. You got to call it something, right? Your basic thing in understanding anything is to narrow down compartments so that you can trap it in within one compartment. So the question is, if you broaden this thing of political cinema into larger and larger categories, you may not be able to get any sense of what the term means. I'm not saying you're wrong, as I said.
No,
I
no,
began
no.
this by saying
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah.
I'm saying it is less useful. Okay.
True.
I mean, it becomes less useful. So if you narrow down categories, it's more useful. If you don't narrow it down and you keep it very broad, if I define you as a human being, what use would the definition be, right?
True.
I must be able to describe you more accurately. Accurately means exclude you from this category, from that category, from here, from there. Okay, gradually I have to exclude you from categories and put you into smaller and smaller categories. That's where you learn, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do here. Okay. So the question is, and I will say, but I'll say this: Schindler's List is political in other sense, which is that Holocaust films are political in a sense that people don't normally acknowledge. What is that sense? But Holocaust is basically a kind of, what's it called? It has a certain political role now in the context of Israel and all that. So Israel keeps invoking the Holocaust very frequently, right? So it's political in that sense. So the question is, when make a movie like Schindler's List, they talk about it as a human document, but it has also got this, shall we say, this subterranean politics of some sort. That namely, the Jewish cause. For example, gypsies died, right?
Yeah.
In the Holocaust, they don't mention the gypsies, the killing of the gypsies as a big thing, because the gypsies are not a political force in any way, right? You get me? Whereas the Israel is a cause, a political cause. So the question is, we cannot divorce. You cannot divorce the role of a Holocaust movie today. Today, its use as a political tool. So that is a certain, shall we say, covered thing. People don't normally talk about it, but it has a certain, what do you say? Because after all, the Holocaust thing is a huge this thing for the Jewish community in the world, and Israel. So I mean, it became strong because of this. What was done to the Jewish community, right? So that thing becomes a certain. If a certain people have been oppressed very much, whatever story is told about them has a political thing which works in their favor. If the people have been triumphant in a big way, any story told about them has a certain political role to play in world politics. So that also should be taken into account. So normally people don't talk about it, but by and large, this is something which normally it has been seen that these things appear together. That Holocaust films and the kind of talk about Israel and Palestine, they seem to go hand in hand, though they're ostensibly not linked. Okay. Now go to the next one. Struggles depicted. Yeah, this is more a listing of things. Working class against capitalist enterprises, the various struggles. See, basic thing is that struggle is required. That when I say, when I talked about this, will also answer your question. That basic struggle between two different forces of some sort for control. That struggle is very necessary in a political thing. In a Holocaust thing, people rounded up and being taken to the concentration camps. That sense of the struggle, that they represent a power of some sort. There is victimization. Okay. This thing of victimization is always a problem. Let's say one-sided victimization is always a problem to define such a film as political. That question is that question of agency, that the group has agency, that is necessary in some way to show that that there was some way of not resistance as much as a conflict of forces kind of thing. Okay. So this capitalist enterprises, there are other things also, like your as I said, Wall Street would be another. Can you think of something else?
In terms of the class against
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, then the other one is McCabe and Mrs. Miller, small business.
Yeah.
Have you seen this? McCabe and Mrs. Miller,
Yeah.
small business versus monopoly capitalism. These are all interesting categories. Women against patriarchy. I think you should see this film. Mizoguchi's Life of Oharu. Mizoguchi is probably the greatest feminist filmmaker of all time. He's a great filmmaker. Life of Oharu is extremely strong film, and it's very complex. Understanding of women's position and what the Japanese tradition is, it how it works. He made it after the war. Battle of all Algiers, colonizers against colonized would be as well as I said, Burn also by Pontecorvo. Okay, peasants against feudal lords, Harakiri. He's not a peasant exactly; he's a samurai.
Yeah,
But basically,
the struggle, the class of that. What about the Bollywood war movies like Border, LOC, Pulton? Are they
I've
political
seen.
movies?
No, they're not. They're not political films at all. In fact, the thing about patriotic films is to avoid all mention of politics. Patriotic films don't want to talk about politics at all. What is the reason for that? Because once you talk about what would happen is how would Border become a political film? That there is conflict essentially between the conflict of interests between, for
India and
example, ranks
Pakistan.
in the army or between the bureaucracy and the army. That conflict of interest is always necessary in a political film, right? So war films, by and large, war films are made by one country, okay, showing their struggles against another country. Okay, the same thing with Schindler's List and this. One people against another people, where this whole thing of interpersonal, so the whole thing is, once you showed, shall we say, not single-minded, suppose you show Indian soldiers are not single-mindedly for India, it will lose that patriotic appeal. You get my point?
So, have you seen Razi, like Meghna Gulzar's Razi?
Yeah, that it's not intentionally political. It's political it's still political, but I mean, but it's not. I don't know. He tries not to be political, as if the only cause in the world is. Okay, thank you. Okay, only cause is the Indian cause. For example, family. What about her role in the family? These are questions you could ask. How is she going to respond to husband, brother-in-law, parents?
And she does, and it's all about how she kind of makes herself, ground herself in that family and become a trusted ally.
No, you've not got my point. What about family loyalties?
They're there. Like she, in the end, like there's this dilemma of like her betraying her husband.
What is that dilemma worth? You do whatever, you murder, right? You murder, you do this, you do that, and then at the end of it, you have a dilemma. Shouldn't you exercise choice before the act?
Yeah.
When do you exercise choice?
But see, she was looking at her character. She was a spy, and she was conditioned in that sense. So in that sense,
I've not seen.
Tashkent Files. Yeah, I would say it's a propaganda.
Okay. See the point. No, let me say this again. This Razi, okay, is a patriotic film. But it is not a political film by a long shot. It's a patriotic film, and patriotic films cannot afford. They cannot afford to be political in that sense. You get me? Is any doubt on this point? Once you make a patriotic film political, you're automatically showing that single-mindedness of the patriot as divided, right?
Yeah.
You get my point? Okay. So that division in a single-minded patriot automatically make it political, automatically makes it less patriotic. It dilutes the patriotism, which is why by and large patriotic films cannot be political in that sense, right? This one, for instance, they would. I mean, it's possible that sometimes you can sneak in some politics in some way. Like I think for Casablanca, I tried to be. I think in some sense because it was not yet a political film. It was not yet a patriotic film.
No, it was just in that sense. It was the dynamics of these characters, and there the politics came in.
It was heading towards patriotism in some way. Okay. So let's go into where were we?
So can we call Sairat a political movie?
Sairat.
It's a Marathi film.
Yeah, I know. I've seen that. I'm not so sure. It's talking about it's more about discrimination. There is no sense of how one class, one caste exerts power over the other. Is there?
It is there. It's about honor killing.
Yeah, to some extent.
No. Wait above. Hey, you jump to conclusions far too easily. You're not looking clear enough. Where are they showing this man's family or group or whatever being, in some sense, exercising power struggle? No, that's not there. What is there is the fact that they're discriminated against, right? The fact that this marriage is frowned upon. That is talked about. But there is no talk in that film that this man's group whatever community, caste, subcaste, or whatever, is associated politically with the other caste in any kind of conflict. Where is that there? We know they dislike each other. We know they hate these people. I'm talking about conflict between the two. One exercising power and control. You see, you're forgetting that word control.
Yeah.
Where is that in the film?
The struggle for that control isn't there.
No, it's not. There is no. Are they, for example, engaged in any kind of activities which draws them into some kind of conflict with each other in the matter of gaining control over something? One country. That's not there. It's basically a humanist documentary, not documentary, a humanist film on discrimination, caste discrimination. Okay. If you want to describe it, if you call it political, you call it in another context. But I've deliberately tried to define it in some way for my purpose, right?
Yeah.
If somebody else, I've tried to define it in some way for my purpose. In that context, it's not political. If somebody calls it political, fine, he's entitled to it. As I've said, I'm not working in a situation that these are permanent definitions. But I'm saying I do not see it as a political thing. What is that? Women against patriarchy.
Pink.
Even that I'm not saying. No, none of them are political. For example, they are political. Look, let me once again think. A film can be interpreted politically. Okay, you can interpret Pink politically. You can interpret Queen politically. Okay, but that is not to say that the film itself has got a political meaning, right? It's one thing that it puts in. Another question is what we understand about society. For example, by Queen, let's take Queen. I can clearly understand that the woman's position is inferior to the man's, the way it's portrayed. Not that the director is conscious of it. The director sees it that it's natural for the woman to be inferior, have an inferior position. For example,
and subsequently her arc becomes,
So for example, take this situation of he dumping her, right, on the eve of her marriage.
Yeah.
But the question is, when he comes back, she has to hesitate before she says no.
Yeah.
And she's apologetic. Okay. Why is she apologetic when he has dumped her? Right? In everyday society, at least in my society, if somebody dumped somebody on the eve of the marriage, he can't go and establish links later. It's over. It's done with. Right? But in this film, actually, it's political in that sense that it's adopting a political viewpoint. The film is not conscious of it. The film is not showing us anything about patriarchy. The film is showing us a patriarchal situation in some way. It's portraying a patriarchal situation.
But
nothing to say about patriarchy. That's a completely different.
But other films like say Thappad was clearly it depicts. Okay, Pink.
Pink, I've already forgotten the film. I don't know. Vaguely, yeah, it has a message of some sort, but it's more. It deals with it in the realm of prejudice. You understand my point?
But
This
still,
is not
the control that you talked about. Yeah.
No. Wait a minute. You can't simply replace prejudice with control and say you got a point. Okay. Where is that? The point is this: it is prejudice of some sort. It is loaded in some favor. But the question is, it does not show men controlling women.
It does. Pink did, right?
Where the women are rebelling in. Look, it's a picture.
It's a conflict. That's a struggle. That's a case. It was about courtroom
is bicycle thief showing you control? We know that these people have no recourse, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a document.
No,
we agree upon that the bicycle thief is a human document.
It's the same thing here. It shows victimization. Victimization is not tantamount to portrayal of control. Is that point making? I think let's ask the other guys. Is this point making understood, sir? Somebody saying, okay.
Yeah.
Showing victimization is not tantamount to showing the mechanism of control. For the film to become political, you have to show how it works. For example, if Queen had to be political, I've forgotten Pink, somewhat forgotten Pink. If Queen had to become political, there would have to be some negotiations behind the things to say, no, what is this? He wants to marry her. Then there's something is there, but pressure is brought upon her to by her father and mother. No, he's a nice guy. He made a mistake. All that would have to come in to make it political. You understand my point? You bring in that thing, like for example, her parents exercising, pushing her to accept this fellow. Okay. Accept him in spite of him having dumped her. Then to become a political film. You get my point? I made my point. Okay. Not showing that.
The Queen, I completely say that it's not a political film.
Yeah, okay.
Queen, I don't say. Queen is a coming of age film.
It's a coming out. That's not a. I mean, that's another category altogether.
It's not political by any like,
political. Yeah,
but
that's the point.
Some of the films here, like
yeah,
okay,
it's
moving
possible.
on.
But by and large, is gender films, for example, gender films by and large, they're not political in that sense. That thing of control, that thing of exercising power over one another to make a person change that. See, that's the necessity is exercise control is different from victimizing. Exercising control means what? It means getting that person to act in a certain way, in whatever way you want. When the Jewish community is rounded up by the Nazis, you're not exercising control in that way. You're exercising violence. You're oppressing them. But this matter of control, you're talking about a going society. Exercising control means pulling strings, making them act in certain ways that you want them to act. That is political. I mean, I'm making this. There seems to be a lot of.
It's a like because as you said, it's a hazy line.
So,
it's not.
I want to. I mean, you've got to understand.
We can agree to disagree on that, but yeah, of course, we have to.
No, I do not tell. No disagreement. If you say disagreement with me, I'll tell you why. It means either my initial definition is not acceptable or my arguments are not acceptable.
No, it's a
okay.
Right from the onset.
There's no question of agreeing to disagree. Not possible.
What I'm saying is that, like, right from the onset, this statement that. Because we're looking at political cinema in terms of like narrowing it down, as you said.
Narrowing it down.
For me, I agree with that statement that everything is political.
Yeah. Then there's no. If you say everything is political, there's no nothing. I have nothing to say to that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because you're human. By saying you're human, I'm not making any point at all, right? What point am I making? Okay, nothing. Okay. The point is, if you say everything is political, you're making 0 point. Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
So
we have to narrow it down.
Only by narrowing down that you can make points. You make points.
By narrowing it down.
By making bland statements like everybody is patriotic, everybody is Indian, everybody is human, everybody you're not making anything at all.
Everybody is not Indian.
You want to say, I'm saying in a certain environment, okay. But I'm not saying, okay, that you can't use these things, but the broader your statement, the less value it has.
But that's what I'm saying. When it comes to a film, the efficiency of a film, like if someone is, why do I look at it? Because as a filmmaker, I don't have to make a point in order to make a film.
A filmmaker is not simply wielding a camera. You got to think on these lines, no?
No, I know, but that's the thing. The broader the story, like if I remove the politics from my story, the story still has to stand, right? Otherwise,
Says who?
Like that's
who says? I mean, you take politics out of a political film and the film will stand, is it? How is it possible?
No, that's when you narrow it down and you see it like that. I'm saying as a
narrowing down definitions. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not teaching you to make a film. I'm saying narrowing down definitions so that definition makes sense. So do you mean to say that exercising control? It has to be part of the narrative. Yes. Exercising control means making other people behave the way you want them to. I've already said that in the beginning. Right?
For example, I'd say
bashing them up is not exercising control.
Okay. Say example, Costa Gavras Z. Now, if in Z we took out the entire context, the entire political backdrop and everything, and it just becomes about this man who is killed and the investigation regarding that. So the story still stands because it becomes a thriller. Then it becomes a whodunit. Then it becomes an investigation.
No. Wait a minute. Okay. Motive is lost. Okay.
Yeah.
Motive is completely lost. And if motive is lost, how does the story stand?
The story becomes about for example, a film like Talwar.
But no whodunit is complete without motive, right?
So the motive becomes who killed this man, like whatever whodunit.
No. Wait a minute. Why? Motive is not who. Why? Why kill him if he's not a political figure? It cannot. You cannot remove the politics from Z and make it a valuable film at all. Okay, I will go along further. Okay. Now, where were we? Okay, we go to this. The individuals against partisan business on Bonnie and Clyde. Many of them would be, but I would still hesitate to call Bonnie and Clyde a political film.
Yeah, even I was quite.
But there is. I mean, because the point is there that embodiment of the state, that policeman is there. Man versus the state.
Man versus the state, yeah.
The state one, but I wouldn't. I mean, I think it's a mistake to call Bonnie and Clyde a political film, right? Monicelli is the organizer, is a political film. Certainly, I think you should get hold of this and see it.
Yeah, it's a very good
Jonathan
film.
Demme is Philadelphia in some sense, but more a matter of prejudice. Okay, it's more showing, and you can think of any gay rights film which can be called political. I'm not so sure that Philadelphia is a. I just scribbled it here, but I'm not so sure that Philadelphia is
It's a
actually a
biopic. I think Moonlight. Moonlight is a film that can be, but it's a biopic in that
yeah, but
sense.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. I don't whether they've had this gay rights thing. I don't. Fassbender, gay issues. Fassbender's Fox is a political film.
Has been this Fox.
Fox and his friends.
Fox
You
and
can
his
write it down.
friends.
Fox and
Yeah.
his friends by Rainer Werner Fassbender is a political film. Okay. Then Demis and consumer against corporate is frequently shown. Fox and his friends, right? Correct. Okay.
Fox and his friends.
Consumer protection versus corporate. That Coppola's Rainmaker. Again, not political in the sense. I mean, they shows a struggle. It's more a struggle. It's not control. Okay.
Yeah,
So I've
because
given
if
this thing got
like the
yeah,
Rainmaker, even Erin Brockovich had a similar plot. It was about like
yeah, correct.
consumers.
I don't think I wouldn't call
Yeah.
it political. It would defeat the purpose.
Yeah.
Struggle for political self-education. Godard's La Chinoise in some way. Even this thing, I think Battle of Algiers also is about political self-education in some way, right? Struggle in a political career. Citizen Kane, obviously, that Citizen Kane is a political film. It is a It's not only about politics; it's also a political film. Can you think of a film about politics which is not political? Is it possible?
About politics, which
Is
is
there
not
anything
political.
which is not political? It's a film about politics. For example, I don't know if you show a good politician versus bad politician.
Yeah.
Okay, without control, but one fellow winning. I don't know. Could
Would you
call
call the
Rajniti
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Rajniti is a political film? I'm not sure.
No,
I'll have to
no,
think
no.
about
It's
it. I've thought
it's a
about it.
family. It's a family film. It's a family conflict film.
Yeah, it's a family film. It's not a political film that way. There's no control there. It's mainly a question of conflict. See,
Yeah.
that element of control is absolutely necessary. Okay. Then this one is another great film you should see. The Thomas Alia's Memories of Underdevelopment. How many have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen.
Okay.
He's
It's a great
Thomas
film.
Elias is
Really,
the man
really
who
great
made
film.
Death of a Bureaucrat also, which
Yeah,
inspired
this
Janabi Doyaro.
is his greatest film. This is his greatest film. Okay. I think Memories of Underdevelopment, you should see this, a masterpiece, I think, in every way. One of the great films of the third world or whatever. You should see it if you can get hold of it. Okay, go to the next one. The point is that because politics is somewhat red hot subject, right? In some sense, it's a red hot subject. People don't talk about it very easily. It is necessary to conceal. For example, people will not talk about Holocaust movies as political in the way I've talked about it. Won't be accepted easily. There is a lot of things that it's basically a human document, but there are your choice of who represents humanity is itself a political choice in some way, right? Why, when you're talking about human document, if you target this community as human, more human in that community, you're automatically making it a political choice of some sort, right? Now, because politics is somewhat content from our discussion, you should know it's, shall we say, a contentious area. Okay, a lot of contention going on. Because of that, there are a lot of films where we try to conceal the political things. I think you should see this Divorce Italian style. It's hilarious and it's really political. Okay, it's hilarious. It's political in more than one way. You should see this. It's generally about an upper class aristocrat, how he manipulates the thing against.
Would you say the rules of the game like falls in a similar category?
Very much. I think so. Very much class conflict and class this thing and all that. Very much so. The rules of the game is a masterpiece. But it's it's not overtly political, but it's a political film. So Divorce Italian style, I would recommend. Starship Troopers. What is Starship Troopers actually?
About the Gulf War. You mentioned it earlier.
All of you have seen Starship Troopers? It's a very popular film.
Yeah, it's a very popular film.
You know what it is? You know what Starship Troopers is? It's a parody of a propaganda film. Minute back is what did I recommend? I recommended
Rules of the Game.
No, I recommended Thomas Alia, Memories of Underdevelopment. Type it out. Yeah, okay. Memories of Underdevelopment. Okay, that's there. Now, Starship.
It's available on YouTube.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, but watch this. It's a masterpiece. More than RoboCop, Starship Troopers works like a propaganda film, but it's doing just the opposite. It's satirizing a propaganda film in some way, parodying it in some way. The kind of slogan mirroring, the kind of thing, the kind of So it's basically it's got this parodic element. Okay. And that parodic element makes it political in a certain way, in a completely different way. it's not overtly political. Like for example, they don't show. It's like, I mean, it's a patriotic film, right? It's a parody of a patriotic film. So it does not itself show control in any way. It shows commitment. It shows loyalty. It shows those values. It's making fun of those values. So in some way, it's political, not because it shows control, but tries to exercise control by making fun of that. Okay, that way it's political. Is that making any sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. The thriller. How generally there have not been too many questions except 2 or 3 people. Notice the names, recurring names. Okay. Thriller. Z is a thriller, as you said. The thing of motive is political motive, this sort of thing. Okay. So thriller, where the entire thing is like a whodunit, uncovering of a crime by a magistrate and a journalist. Okay, that's what it's about. So it's a thriller. Then you have noir. Chinatown, maybe probably, I don't know. I can't think of many other noir films which are political the way Chinatown is. Chinatown, is anybody any doubt about Chinatown being political? All of you most of you would have seen it. Any doubt about why it's political?
It's a big, like we might have vague ideas, but like why do you think it's political?
I think it's political because it's about the control of the water supply system, right?
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's also that the element of money, private ownership of the water supply, trying to control the water supply by that entire thing of Los Angeles. You can't bring water to Los Angeles. Take Los Angeles to the water. Is the kind of thing.
Yeah.
And basically, so the question is the control of the water supply. It's very different from another kind of noir film. All the other noir films, I can't recollect any. You look at Maltese Falcon, you look at all of them. They're not political in this sense, okay? So that's Chinatown. I would recommend musicals. I think Nashville is a great film about the musical thing in Nashville, Tennessee, the country music thing. Robert Altman's Nashville. I would recommend this if you haven't seen. Have you seen it?
Yes, no. I've seen it.
Okay, I would strongly recommend this. Okay, this film Nashville. And Kansas City also, again, politics, the background is politics, but the front of this thing is all music. It's singing and the thing and all this music. Okay. Then I would recommend the Western, The Great Silence.
Yeah, I haven't seen The Great Silence.
The Great Silence is Corbucci, who made Django.
Yeah. So Sergio Corbucci.
Yeah, it's probably his best film is The Great Silence. You try the Sergio Corbucci's The Great Silence. It's a it's a somewhat very pessimistic and very bleak film, but it's extremely powerful. It's a little difficult actually to get out of that film without feeling deeply affected. Okay. Then you have biopic, the Mattei case of Francesco Rossi. You must have seen it, Mattei case.
I've seen it.
Francesco Rossi, which is again a biopic of a public sector official who resisted the oil companies. Then horror, Cargo 200, I mean, absolutely essential. Somebody told me, some friend of mine, I recommended to saw it. He said, if you show it in the CPM headquarters, it will cause a riot, because
yes. And now that I think about it,
you can't imagine what is it called, more searing indictment of communism of the Brezhnev era than this film. I mean, all Eastern European cinema cannot compare to this. It's horrific, I'll say that.
Yeah,
it's funny.
It's very funny.
Very funny, but it's very dark. It's extremely dark. I think you should see this. It's the movie, a Russian movie. If people haven't seen Russian movies, what they are, and you still think that it's all liberation and
No, it's a very gut-wrenching, disturbing film.
Disturbing, gut-wrenching, but it's not violent.
Yeah, no, it's very atmospheric in that nature.
Yeah, it's not gruesome or anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Then there's Chronicle of Anna Magdalena Bach, which is about the artistic. This is another thing. Biopic of the artist I didn't mention here is interesting. Yeah, please.
What's the movie?
Cargo 200.
Cargo 200.
200 by Alexei Balabanov. You try to see that. I think it will be available on YouTube also. Cargo 200. Okay. Please try that. I would strongly recommend that. In fact, I've been making a case for this movie. Not many people have heard of that film. I saw it in 2006 or 2007 or so. I mean, it sort of shook me up. I saw this movie in somewhere in Greece. Okay. Then Chronicle of Anna Magdalena Bach is a Brechtian thing, a story told about an artist and his compromises, his oppression by his patrons. The thing of artistic patronage is very important in this film. It's a difficult film in the sense it's very minimalist. It's not an easy film. It's also available. You can get it. I would say Straub, Jean-Marie Straub, and I think Daniel Huile. I think the two directors. You should try this A Chronicle of Anna Magdalena Bach. It's about artistic patronage, how the control of the artist, what the artist depends on, all that. Think of another film on artistic patronage, artist compromising against
Rang
the
Rasiya.
sorry,
Ethan Mehta's Rang Rasiya.
I've not seen it. I would
It was.
suggest.
It's a biopic of Raja Ravi Kumar,
Okay.
and the censorship that he had to deal with his art and his struggle of that.
Ravi Verma.
Ravi Verma, sorry, Ravi Verma. Raja Ravi
Okay,
Verma.
okay. I've not seen it. But this other one is interesting about the Nazi thing. What is that? The artist. That is a political film. This chap's Hungarian film, Zabo. Mephisto. Mephisto is an interesting film about
I'm sorry.
artistic compromises. You have not heard of it?
Yeah, this is
Mephisto. Mephisto. I would suggest that people look at this film.
Mephisto.
Yeah, Mephisto. Okay. So please, if you can watch this film, please watch it. It's about artistic compromises. A person and a theater actor trying to compromise with Nazism. It's a very interesting, extremely good film. It was created a big splash. Now I think it's generally faded out. It's a director István Szabó, Hungarian film. Very brilliant film. Okay. So this concludes mine. I just want to stop here. I don't have any films to show. I think the list of movies, we've probably given some list of movies, right?
Yes, sir. You have this,
Italian, yeah? Okay. Now, can I ask a question which generally I have not put it up in this thing? What do you think of the characteristics of the Indian political film? What would you call political films in India?
There are very few. For example, Shanghai is a political film. But then again,
what about? I mean, all you guys seem to be talking only about the latest guys. What about your traditional Mrinal Sen, your Sham Benegal, what about Govind Nihalani? What about all those guys?
Yeah, of course. Political cinema. Mostly in India, political cinema has got a lot to do with dissent, rather than the what do you call the control and the struggle of that.
Okay. Does anybody have any opinion on this? There seem to be sort of
dissent and satire. Satire is pretty prevalent here.
Satire is there, but my own sense of the Indian political film, if you take something like Mrinal Sen, Ek Din Pratidin, which is some kind of gender stuff.
Calcutta 71.
Something like Calcutta 71. More than Calcutta 71 because there are 4 different things. It's an interview. You look at all these films, or you take this thing of the basic thing seems to be victimization. Okay, they seem to sort of dwell. I mean, it's almost like it's a sense of hopeless victimization that you cannot arrive at any kind of So I mean,
and of course, through that victimization, the protagonist kind of, in the end, it's not very.
Okay, let's look at Ankur, for instance.
Yeah.
How is that boy throwing a stone at the end? What has it got any relationship to do with the central story? Except that boy keeps seeing things along and he's imbibed this political message and he flings a stone at the window of the oppressor. Where is their control? Where is there? How is Ankur a political film the way I see it? There is victimization.
There is victimization and there is outrage. And so
outrage is not always there. It is there sometimes. It's there, not there sometimes.
But mostly,
no. Wait a minute. Outrage is a rhetorical imposition.
That's the throwing of the stone.
It's a rhetorical imposition on the narrative. It is not intrinsic to the narrative.
It isn't, and it's not even a resolution.
It is the same thing with interview. It is not part of the narrative that the valley. What is okay? There seems to be some kind of sense of victimization by some system, right?
Yeah.
A victimization by a system, right? What exactly is the system? Does anybody know what the system is? I don't know because they seem to be. Has anybody got any idea on this? I have generally been looking a bit at this the art cinema as political cinema. Is it political cinema at all? Is Mrinal Sen's interview political at all in the way I've defined it? Does anybody have an idea?
Because
any contrary thing?
Because that's what the in terms
what
of
is the film about? What is the film about? It is basically about the victimization of a contemporary Indian, contemporary at that time, by colonial prejudices, right?
True.
Right? Would that make it political? Is it a political film at all? No, you guys are very fascinated by this idea of political cinema. But how are you going to respond to what I've said? The way I've defined it, is it political in the sense that I've defined it?
The way you've defined it, no. it's not political. The way you've defined it.
So in other words, it is political in the sense that all films are political.
No, not in that sense
Then-
as well. I don't mean it like that. If
It's a cinema of dissent. It's a cinema,
of dissent. It's a cinema of dissent. It's a cinema of like. It also talks about what is the politics of the country that it's coming from. In that sense, there were colonial prejudice, the vestiges of colonial prejudice.
See, when you talk about prejudice, okay, without control, okay, you are talking about something else. It's the same thing with Sairat. You're talking about prejudice. You're not talking about control. Okay.
Yeah.
But
That's why I said, as you defined it, it's not political. None of then there hasn't been any political film made in India except for Shanghai, which is an adaptation of Z. Yeah.
I'd like to see it exactly. What the thing is. Has not changed it at all?
No, it's a. No, I think it's pretty true to the source material.
All right. Okay. So anyway, I'll tell you the films I've recommended. Please write it down. Burn. You can write it down. Type it down. Burn. Haider is again. I'm not so sure. See, you know what Haider does? Again, victimization. It's again victimization. Kashmiri versus Indian, non-Kashmiri state, and that.
But the struggle of control is there. In Haider, it's pretty much there. I would say.
Where? Because you understand control completely different ways from the way I understand it. I'm not so sure about Haider being political. Haider is a cinema of dissent. I agree. See, again, cinema. All things of dissent need not be political, right? In the way I've talked about it.
Yeah,
political is supposed to be a new kind of purchase on a certain political situation, right? I don't think Haider is political. I don't think so. Hamlet. How would you make Hamlet political in that sense? How would you? Unless it's about control of the king, that kind. I don't think that features very much in this also. I don't think so. But you think about it, as I said, you think about it because I have no final solutions to all these issues. I suggest you see Burn. I suggest you see Salvatore Giuliano. Burn, yeah. Salvatore Giuliano. See Life of Oharu. If you can.
We have that in the PPT. We'll share the PPT.
Okay, all right, please.
We have less than a minute, so we'll have to wrap up.
All right. Organizer, okay, whatever you please send it to everybody and share my PPT also. So as I said, you're entitled to have your own opinion on what is political and what is not political. I've tried to arrive at some kind of understanding, okay, so that we can call this political, that not political, categorize the cinema of dissent from political cinema. They are not, need not necessarily be simultaneous. But by and large, in India, everybody seems to think that cinema of dissent is automatically political. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.